Let's start in the Indo-Pacific, where South Korea's acting president, Han Duck-soo, has said that US President Donald Trump apparently his administration to conduct immediate tariff negotiations with South Korea, Japan and India. Han said that he had explained South Korea's position on the tariff matter in detail to Trump and that the US leader had been satisfied with Seoul's stance. Speaking at a meeting of the Economic Security Strategy Task Force, Han said that he would be willing to talk directly with Trump again if needed to advance cooperation in key areas like liquefied natural gas and shipbuilding. He also says he expects a video conference within a day or two to discuss cooperation on a major liquefied natural gas project in Alaska. The project, involving a pipeline from Alaska's North Slope to the south, aims to boost US energy exports to Asia. Last week, South Korea's trade minister said cooperation in shipbuilding could be a strong bargaining chip in upcoming tariff negotiations. Meanwhile, South Korea's first vice foreign minister, Kim Hong-hyun, told Parliament that the Trump administration has not yet proposed talks on defense for stationed US troops, but he said Seoul is preparing for a range of possible scenarios. Trump said that he spoke to Han about South Korea's payments for what he called big-time US military protection, a signal that defense costs could be tied into a broader deal that includes trade and tariffs. In a major diplomatic outreach, Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in Vietnam, marking the start of a three-nation Southeast Asia tour. His visit comes at the time of a rising global trade tensions, especially with the United States. In a strong message aimed at Washington, Xi warned that protectionism leads nowhere and warns that trade wars have no winners, which is a clear swipe at US tariffs under President Donald Trump. Xi is calling for stronger trade and supply chain cooperation with Vietnam, even as both countries navigate pressure from US duties. He's also urging deeper collaboration in green technology and artificial intelligence. The Chinese leader emphasized that China and Vietnam should resolve maritime disputes through dialogue and negotiation amid long-standing tensions in the South China Sea. Xi has also said he's looking forward in-depth strategic discussions with Vietnamese leaders on bilateral ties and broader regional issues. From Vietnam, Xi will travel to Malaysia and Cambodia. We are joined by Joshua Barnes, anchor correspondent to discuss this further. Joshua, what can you tell me about this important meeting between the premiers of Vietnam and Chinese President Xi Jinping?
Yes, well, this meeting is extremely important in President Xi's mind. He is looking at a situation where the country is currently being hit by US tariffs that we know, of course, are up at 145% for many goods. Now, Xi's plan with these meetings is to visit three countries, three trading partners with China in Southeast Asia, and try and build ties with those nations in the face of this difficulty with the United States. Now, heading to Vietnam first. Vietnam is a major trading partner with China. To give you some context on how much trade goes on, Vietnam, of course, produces a lot of chips. They have TSMC, the world's largest semiconductor producer, and they provide around $31 billion worth of exports to the United States. In contrast, Vietnam brings in $30 billion worth of goods from China. So that provides you an insight into how significant these two countries are. Now, this meeting for Xi is vital in building those trade negotiations and building those trade partners, but it also could be seen as a diplomatic move to call out against US President Donald Trump's actions. Let's not forget, Vietnam were set to be hit with 46% tariffs until that was reduced to 10% for 90 days. So Vietnam in a difficult point. Hanoi obviously looking at reducing that 46%. Negotiations have already got underway with the United States. But for President Xi, this is a show of unity with the wider region. He then heads to Malaysia and Cambodia. He hasn't visited those places for a decade. So this really is a big move from Xi, a big move of solidarity for the Southeast Asian region, and a move against the US tariffs.
Joshua Barnes, thank you very much for joining us. You are staying with us. China on Monday revealed a jump